Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to give you a cinematography breakdown shot by shot on how I filmed the upcoming music video, Sleepwalking, Music and Lyrics by Alex Carabay. So this is the opening image of our video. And I call it the shoe shot because Alex wanted to show his nice shoes. He was obsessed with that being in the opening shots, and he was also wanting to film on a railroad track. And I framed it in this particular way because, just like the Renaissance artists of the past, I'm creating linear perspective. And what that means is it's pretty much lines converging to a specific point in the frame to guide our eyes to where I want the viewers to look. And in this case, I wanted them to understand that the setting is a railroad track, it's outdoors, and the intersecting lines converge at his shoe. So that was the psychology behind that shot. And as we move forward, I wanted to establish who he was in the third shot. I wanted to show what he was carrying. And at this point, we're wondering who he is and where he's traveling to. Because the sun was setting, I decided to shoot with these practical lights in the background because that would tell the viewer that it's happening mid-morning and we're still keeping that lighting consistent with the previous shots. So in post-production, I changed the color of these lines to red to match the tule and the outfits of the dancers that we see later in the video. And the color red was a bold choice that Alex really wanted because it symbolized anger, fire. All of that is coming from the lyrics, but also from the interiority of the character's mind. It's very much a psychological music video. And we liked the eye because it resembled, of course, if you're familiar, a big brother from the science fiction book, 1984. This idea of someone who's always watching, always prevalent, and our reality is constantly being invaded, our privacy being invaded. So we always retreat to our innermost thoughts to find clarity. And that's really what the lyrics of this music video was about. Now, this setting that we had, it was probably one of the most difficult setups I had to manage because I only had 3 hours to shoot in this location. And there's a mirror, as you can see here, on one side of the wall. So because the dancers are performing on the other side, I can't be in the reflection while we're filming. But I also want to introduce the reflection to the viewer as we continue moving forward into our main subject here, Alex. We're getting more into his head. Of course, here's that red symbolism with the tule on the ground. And I do a slight crane movement downwards as he's walking. It's very subtle. And then I move back up to him right when he sits down. And I really like this shot because it not only establishes the setting, but we see his reflection and his action. And then the cutting with the continuity was just spot on. I'm using a filter that I've never used before in prior videos. And my adapter actually had fungus growing on the lens and it created condensation. And you got this foggy look, and it made all of the whites have this glow, and it just looks really awesome on the coffee cup and the porcelain glass here. And I'm also wanting to preserve detail here, so I'm using a variable ND filter because the first part of the video, I'm wanting the viewer to see the background, and then as the video continues, it's getting more into his head, so it appears more dreamlike. For this camera movement, when the dancers, appear from symbolically his head, I had to frame it in a very particular way where with any subtle movements with the Steadicam, it would break the illusion. So it was a really difficult shot. We actually got it right. I think the second take. So that was great. Now, all of these shots here, especially, that's where that glow is coming from. It's from the adapter. I'm letting in a lot of light and it's softening the skin tones, and it's slightly desaturating skin tones as well, because the issue with this room is it's similar to everyone's skin tones. And so I'm trying to make a bold contrast with that. And I'm doing so with, the red bold colors help, but because I'm bringing in more light, that's also separating the foreground and the background, just getting that creamy look. And this is where I think the adapter shines, and especially with the glow and this veil flare that we're getting, it's making the overall feel, I think, more interesting. Now this next shot here, this shot, it's a one take and extremely difficult because I had to go around the actors and then refocus by the time he enters frame. I had to refocus on him, and then I had to move backwards and then refocus on him again. And the trick of getting this right is to maintain the spatial continuity so that I don't have to keep refocusing. And so now what I'm doing in the second part of this music video is I'm blowing out the detail, blowing out the highlights. And so now all the lighting is, I'm able to get more of an exposure, and I'm about 2.5 stops overexposed. And it's purposely this way because the more I manipulate the adapter, the more light I'm going to be losing. And so I need to maintain that by continually not manipulating the ND filter too much. And we wanted each section of this music video to have a different look. And so we're in the second section now, and we wanted more of that dreamlike effect. So that's what we're getting here. And by the way, if you listen to the music, all of the hand gestures and movements are matching the beats, of the music. I had to get a lot of close-ups, but we wanted to change the style because this is the moment in the music video where he starts to realize that there's a lot of corruption in the world, there's a lot of change, and he's trying to figure out what he's going to do about moving forward. And originally, Alex wanted to bring in fire, and we were going to physically have set a fire on set. And I had to talk him out of it. I was like, I think it's just too much of a hazard to start a fire. And instead, he came up with this idea of the dancers gesturing with their arms to simulate flames from a fire. And we realized that the audience, the viewer, would automatically understand those gestures because it matches the lyrics. Really loved this close-up. Also matched that rack focus to the beat of the music here. Almost sounds like a ticking clock. And then for this short montage, what I'm doing is I'm taking the camera and I'm moving it just like this. So I'm taking it off the Steadicam and I'm spreading my legs slightly because once I put my hand underneath the lens, I can just then move my body to get some of those simulated dolly shots. And you also see some blur across his face, like there. It emulates a heat wave effect. And I really thought that would add to the fire symbolism. Here was, I thought, a pretty clever illusion. He drinks the coffee, and then in the next moment, we hold on that, and it's seemingly disappeared. And the trick of this illusion is the viewer is focused on his eye line. So they're not so much focused on the coffee cup. And how we did it is his sister was off to the side, and she quickly takes the coffee cup. And then his hand gestures to tell us that it's disappeared, and he's noticed, of course. I really wanted a silhouette effect because it would make the tule stand out with that saturated red, but it would also showcase more of the movements and the choreography from the dancers, and that's what we have here. And a lot of these shots, I'm shooting at a frame rate of 60 frames per second, and my shutter angle is 1/200th of a second. The reason why I bumped up the shutter is because I wanted to reduce the motion blur, and the dancers and performers are moving quickly. And I realized that the more I bump up the shutter, it'll eliminate that motion blur. So that's what we have with Alex here. So we're able to get that complete movement that she's exhibiting because of that shutter adjustment. Now for this moment, again, I keep the silhouette look, but I actually reverse the footage. I originally wanted them to throw the tule up in the air, and it wasn't going high enough, and I realized that we just kept seeing their arms in the air. And when I reversed the footage, and it added to that fantastical feel, so I really liked how that turned out. I love how Alex kind of jumps into that ring of fire, and he's getting wrapped up in it. And I'm still keeping that exposure low, especially here, keeping the same look, keeping it consistent. And what's cool about the shot here, I think, is in the lyrics, he talks about writing and a journalist's blood. And then you see the writing on the walls here, and that writing looks very pronounced. And it's looking that way because, one, I'm bringing in that light. And of course, it's reacting to the fungus on the adapter. And so it's making everything glow. You get this halo effect on his head, and it's even polishing the floor. This is a reverse shot, and then this is a reverse shot as well. And then I wanted the tule to fall on him really slowly, so I kept that same frame rate. And I wanted to frame his face in a way where we needed to transition from one moment to the next. So that's why I do a dissolve here as we're pushing to the left. And once again, even that glow effect, right? It acts as a really nice transition from one shot to another. And this was actually a one take. I know it's broken up here, but this one take was the most difficult shot of them all because I really only had 3 chances to get it right, and we were losing time. So I was rushed by time, per usual. What I remember after we did the take, I told Alex, I'm not confident about the shot. I don't think it looks good, and I think it's the worst looking shot in the music video. And then I showed some of my friends the video and showed Alex, and they really loved the shot. So it just goes to show that even if you don't like something in your cinematography or your work, somebody else might like it. It's all an opinion at the end of the day. Hearing that gives you the confidence to move forward and not worry about it. I had to consistently retain focus while he's moving. And then by the end, I had to get him in focus. And the difficulty of that was, of course, I'm on a Steadicam and I'm focusing through the lens itself. And usually you want an assistant operator with an external focusing device to do that for you. And I just didn't have that. And I didn't want to use the focus wheel on the Ronin because it's easier for me to dial in that focus through the lens, and I'm moving it very subtly. If you know me well, I love experimenting with cinematography. Every project is going to have a new look. When photographers and videographers want to throw away a lens, maybe there's a defect or a piece of equipment malfunctions, my advice is just keep it. You never know what you're going to use that lens for in the future. And I think for a music video, it allowed me the ability to really do something different from the other projects that I've worked on. And without the fungus on the lens, I kind of look back on it, is even though it's washing out some of the background and everything, it just makes the skin tones more pronounced. And it's a look that I wouldn't have gotten without having that extra stop of light into the adapter that I can just manipulate. All right, everyone, that concludes the cinematography breakdown. If you like this video, please subscribe, jump into the comments, check out the music video Sleepwalking, and special thanks to everyone involved with this project, from the performers to the makeup artist to Alex's sister. Everyone just did a great job, and you all were creative. And I saw that creativity in the 3 hours that we were in the setting. We didn't have a lot of time together, but we got to know each other through that sharing of that creativity. All right, everyone, catch you in the next video.